work, sleeping in boxcars and under the stars, getting in scrapes with the police, going to sleep hungry many a night. Now, outside Harrisburg, freezing for hours in the snow and wind, waiting for a ride, he feared that his race was almost run. Having given up all hopes of ever seeing any human beings alive on this planet any more, as he would write later, he knew that he would have been far from the first to succumb to the exposure and starvation that the Depression had wreaked across the country. More than a decade after the stock market crash of 1929, the Depression had scarcely loosened its grip. Unemployment stood at 15%, well below its 1933 peak of 25%, but still disastrous by historical standards. Throughout the trip, jukeboxes and radios had blared "God Bless America," a hit for network radio star Kate Smith. With its gentle, pastoral lyric and gracefully rising and falling melody set to a stirring march rhythm, Woody hated it. He despised the hit parade. He called it sissy music. But it was rare for any particular song to irritate him so much. A Bing Crosby hit had been the most recent to irk him. "Wrap your troubles in dreams, whistle and dream your cares away," Crosby had crooned. Woody couldn't stand such vaporous wishfulness. He was freezing, broke, and hungry. He had endured the Dust Bowl, homelessness, and jail time for vagrancy. He had seen police violence, bloody labor disputes, and starvation stalking the California migrant camps. A songbird bellowing "Land That I Love" and rhapsodizing about her "home, sweet home" provoked him. Some people say that it was when he was freezing on the side of the road that he started thinking about writing a rebuttal, a song that would give vent to his leftist politics. As with many of his songs, he would borrow most of the tune from the Carter family, his biggest musical influence. The southwestern landscape and his years of wandering would figure prominently. The song would talk about the Dust Bowl and the Depression. Even a job he had worked in Pampa as a sign painter would make it in. It wasn't yet the song we know today. A jaunty sarcasm popped from the first draft, but the majority of the lyrics that would become so famous were already there when he sat to write it down later in New York, including the first lines: "This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island." Irving Berlin had been a songwriting juggernaut for longer than Guthrie had been alive. He had written his first million seller in 1911, the year before Guthrie's birth. But what Guthrie might not have known, and if he had, he probably wouldn't have cared, was that the author and composer of God Bless America had lived through deprivation comparable to his own. Berlin had come to America as a 5-year-old with his family, fleeing the Russian pogroms. America had done more for him than offer safe harbor when he was a refugee. Berlin had worked his way from homelessness to wealth in his adopted country. Kate Smith's signature song may be a heart-swelling flag waver, but it works equally well as a tremulous prayer of thanksgiving, which was how Irving Berlin sang it. His gratitude was genuine. The life of the self-made millionaire and the life of the indigent communist sympathizer had sometimes run on uncannily parallel paths. Homelessness hit them both young. Before the age of 15, poverty and family tragedy drove the former to the streets of New York and the latter to an abandoned shack in Okemah, Oklahoma. They both married outside the faith of their family, and each father-in-law disowned his daughter for it. Guthrie's second wife, Marjorie, the custodian of his legacy and by most accounts the love of his life, was rejected by her Jewish father for marrying a Christian, while Berlin's beloved Ellen was cut off by her Christian father for marrying a Jew. Reconciliation in both families came about in the aftermath of heartbreak. The Berlins and the Guthries both lost a young child, whereupon the bereaved grandfathers reached out to their daughters, never having met their grandchildren. As musicians,